I met a gypsy.
So, I feel really far away from you, Sam.
It's alright, bud.
All right. Sam Hill, the Flying Fossil, Gypsy Tales podcast. Let's go. Look, we've got this big, expensive studio that we built in Burleigh, and people come to it, but they're not Sam Hill. What happens when you're Sam Hill and you do Gypsy Tales is people drive for 4 days to set up in your living room because you command that kind of respect. So welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks very much.
So I'll just give people a little bit of context. We've driven across the country to race the Manjimup 15,000. We arrive here today. Awaiting us is an epic sand track. So that's your local, that's where you ride most of the time?
Well, I ride all over the place, but yeah, it's just down the road, and a young kid rides there and trains there, so he was kind enough to let us out there today.
What did you make of the East Coast boys having a crack in the sand today, mate? Sammy wasn't Sammy's longest moto.
Oh, I don't even think I've seen him do any laps, Just there was a bit of sitting and looking going on.
What'd you see him do?
Not too sure. He was just hanging out.
There was nothing.
I think he was trying to figure out what to do with the sand.
Yeah, look, it's for us Queensland boys. It's he's a Tassie. There's no sand in Tasmania either.
Well, it wasn't flat sand, so
True.
took him to probably the worst place you could go to
That
get
was
your feet wet.
we got the full WA experience.
Yeah.
Like that is, and anytime that was my first time that wheels had ever touched dirt for me, or sand in WA, and but I've seen it before a bunch of times, but never ridden it, and that lived up to all the expectations.
Yeah, I definitely. There's a different style of riding to ride that stuff, I think. And for you dudes, you just rolled off a 4-day drive and had a couple of Subway sandwiches and threw your boots on and got stuck in. So, yeah, you need a bit of time to get used to it.
Yeah, well, look, lucky we've got a few days before Manji.
That's it. Tomorrow Bunbury will be good. You guys will get a smooth track there and get a bit more time to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about Old Bunbury. That's one of like a bit of a bucket list track in terms of just feel like the tracks over here just look insane. So many of the East Coast tracks just don't, I guess, like look that cool, but over here, man, like everything just looks epic. Even today, epic.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Bunbury's like I've always loved riding there. It's a cool track, so pretty excited to see what you guys reckon tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm keen. And then Manji, you've had to bow out of the Manji 15,000. Look, probably it's probably good for a lot of the vets actually.
Well, it's pretty much when I seen Sam Moore's name on the entry list.
You were done.
Just can't compete.
How do you compete with that?
I can't. So we're just having a weekend off.
Yeah, look, mate, it's probably the move. I tell you what, you are extremely fast on a motocross bike. Like I'd seen videos of you ride before, but watching you properly ride in person on the same track, I was fucking impressed. I know you don't like talking about
that.
I know. See this. All right. So this
is
is
a bike with 2 wheels.
Yeah, and you fucking send it.
I like it.
It's unreal. So that, I guess, brings me to one of the challenges of doing a podcast with a man like yourself, who has literally done everything that there is to do on 2 wheels, but you're the most humble and, I guess, underspoken dude. And I guess that's why so many people, people just froth Sam Hill. And I just think maybe it's because you don't say that much, you rock up, you smoke everybody by a million seconds, and then you bounce back to WA, and no one saw you coming. They just saw you win, they saw you leave, and you don't really like talking about yourself that much. But the next couple of hours, mate, I'm going to need you to have a crack at talking about
2
yourself.
hours.
Hey?
2 hours.
3 hours. We got this. You talk about yourself.
We're on.
You talk about yourself for 3 hours, you reckon?
I'll talk to you for 3 hours.
Yeah, fair enough. So we could go. I guess talk about the motocross stuff first, because you do rip on a motocross bike. When did the moto stuff come in as heavy as what it is? Because essentially, we rock up to your place from our 4-day drive, and we just walk into full-on moto dad, moto mum, and moto kid life. So the moto thing's pretty heavy in the Hill family.
Yeah, I think it's definitely taken over a bit the last couple of years. But yeah. So as a kid, I raced motocross from like 4 till I was about 9, and then sort of lost interest in it and went down the BMX route, and then from there got into mountain biking. So yeah, I think that was the first sort of thing I got involved in as a sport. Obviously, I've always loved it. It's always been a passion and a hobby. And then when I got a bit older and made a bit of money myself to buy my own bikes, I sort of got another bike and have always done it as like a training tool. And
Yeah.
yeah, just really enjoy motocross, and that's my thing outside of mountain biking. So yeah, and then COVID hit last year, and my oldest son Bam, he's always wanted to do motocross, and I've taken him like a couple of races here and there over the last few years, but he hasn't been able to do it because it's always clashing when I'm away. So yeah, last year, not travelling away, I was able to get him into it and sort of guide him through a year of racing, and he sort of progressed and taken off and fallen in love with it. And even the younger two now are getting involved, so sort of taken over the Hill household a bit.
So Bam's only just started racing.
Yeah, last year was his first year of having a good go.
No way.
Which was kind of a short year as well. So
yeah, I thought he'd just been doing it flat out like the whole time.
no, he's had a motorbike since he rode his first motorbike when he was about 3, but it's never been like a thing that he's done regularly or like flat out or anything like that until last year.
So when you were 9, why do you reckon you stopped? Like you lost interest in riding?
I think I had a couple of crashes that sort of scared me off it. So
and then that was it.
Yeah, I don't know. My dad said that I was decent at it.
Do you remember much about racing back then?
Oh, I remember getting lots of trophies and thinking that I was the man, but later on in life you realise that they weren't great trophies. They were sort of for turning up.
Yeah.
But I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't like probably as good as I thought I was in my mind.
Yeah, and so then you go to BMX.
Yeah.
And did it switch for you then that you were like, well, I guess because every kid, like for me, I wanted to be a pro motocross rider, but obviously not going to happen. But at some point, I reckon every kid, Bam probably right now is looking on the TV and like, oh, I'm going to be Justin Barsh and I'm going to be, But when was that for you? Like, you didn't have that in moto?
I don't know. I remember having like motocross heroes like Guy Cooper and Rick Johnson and stuff, and used to just watch all the videos and that sort of thing. But I don't really know what sort of triggered me not to want to keep doing it.
Yeah. But then, so BMX, like when was the first moment where you were like, I want to be pro?
At mountain biking.
So was it mountain biking that you had that, or not in BMX?
Nah, BMX was just, I don't know, I just grew up on 2 wheels. If I wasn't riding motorbikes, I was at home messing around with BMX, and then, so I guess that BMX racing was sort of then a natural thing to go to. But I was never that awesome at it. I wasn't bad, but the old gate snap and the horsepower out of the gate wasn't quite where it needed to be. But I don't think it was anything I wanted or thought of taking super serious at the time. And then my older brother, him and his mates started getting into mountain biking, and I'd chase them around on a BMX and seen like a local race and thought it was pretty sick. So sort of went there, watched that local race. I wanted to race it. It was a dual slalom, just had a BMX with the rear brake, and it had rained overnight and I couldn't, like my brakes wouldn't slow down. so I couldn't end up racing it. So I just watched, and then after that, got to the next race, and yeah, just took off from there.
There wouldn't really. We spoke about this a bit earlier, but when you started, there wasn't really mountain bikes.
No, there was nothing. Everything was 26-inch wheels,
Yeah.
and it was all like you had to be an adult or a good sized teenager to have a mountain bike, really.
Yeah. So what was your first mountain bike?
I think it was like an old Shogun Trailblazer or
No way.
some rigid thing I probably stole off my mum.
that was the milk and bread bike.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I never had flash mountain bikes. Even when I started, I had to sell my BMX bike and save some money up for me paper route and sort of piece together a mountain bike to get going.
Yeah, right. What was your I guess like upbringing like around sport and stuff like that? Did you have like the mini dad parents, or did you have real hands off parents and you had to kind of get everywhere yourself? Or
No, I think I don't think we were like pushed or pressured into anything. We obviously had a lot of support from our parents for what we wanted to do. My dad was interested in motocross, so I think that's why we started
yeah,
from a young age.
yeah,
And then when we started mountain biking, Dad thought that it was stupid that he was driving us a few hours to do a 2-minute race. So back then there was just downhill and cross country,
yeah,
and most of the races would have cross country one day, downhill the next.
yeah.
So if we were driving 2 hours away, Dad was making us race across country because
That's so funny.
he wasn't just letting us get away with a 2-minute race.
Yeah, that's such a dad thing. I remember when I was racing downhill, my dad was just like, that's why I ended up getting all the way into moto.
Yeah.
Because Dad was just like, fuck this, I can't even see you race, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to get you a bike, at least I can watch you suck.
Yeah.
I only see you suck for 2 minutes, for 2 seconds when you come past in this 2-minute run.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard for spectators and stuff to get into, but yeah, now Dad loves mountain biking and he goes riding all the time by himself. So,
What was the WA scene like around that time?
I look back at it as a bit of a heyday, really.
Yeah,
I
really.
think just some of it's probably being a kid that's new to the sport and excited about it. But because there was just the cross country and downhill, and the state rounds would hold both events on the same weekend, you'd get a lot of people racing both disciplines. You get a lot of people like everyone to camp. You'd have bonfires and people be jumping over fires at night time and you know, having fun and having a good time. So I don't know, I look back at it as a lot of good memories there, and now it's a lot more serious and people don't really they're not camping, they're not doing the same sort of things where the atmosphere is like a good buzz to be around.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing that's coming back right now, man, is just events where it's about fun.
Yeah.
Like, we're so lucky with the Transmoto events that we do, which you're going to do at some point. And we just did Dust Hustle the other day. And there's just such a shift, I reckon, from the serious shit into just the fun stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot more people are sort of chasing that fun event, and they want to go and have a good time on the weekend with their mates and that sort of thing. And I think Enduro has sort of
brought that back
a lot, because you're racing, but you're going and riding around with your mates.
Yeah,
especially at a local event. So it's it brings back a bit more of the fun atmosphere to it.
When did you first realise that you were good?
I don't know. I used to just come home from school and watch the videos of like all the top dudes. And
what videos were you watching back then?
It was like Transcontinental and some chain smoke and stuff like that, I think. Yeah.
Who were the fast guys?
Still like Steve Pete, Cedric Gracia,
Yeah.
Nico Vulio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that sort of era around 98, 99, 2000, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the same era of dudes that I was looking up to. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up just full Mud Cows kid. Like, Michael Ronning, Kovarik, and then overseas, or like, then you had like Mick Hanna, Sean McCarroll, Nathan Rennie.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually, man, come to think of it, it was actually a pretty crazy Aussie scene in that early 2000s. Like, and I guess you were probably, I'm just trying to like think of the time frame in my head. When Rennie and Kovarik and those boys were killing it, you were probably a junior, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they were doing World Cups when you were like world junior?
Yeah, them boys were already over there
Yeah.
they were on teams and racing World Cups, yeah.
So was that a part of the, I guess, you thinking like, I could do this, like I could go over there and be like that?
I guess you got the dream. Like, looking back on it, I never actually thought that I would go and race. Like, I raced loads of years against Petey and Cedric and those guys. And they were the guys I looked at in the videos, and I never thought that would be me. But, yeah, I think I was maybe 14 when went and raced the first national championship over east in Canberra.
Yeah.
And that, I was in the under 17 class and I won it by like 30 seconds or something.
Fuck.
And then Dad told me like the next year we'd try race the national series to try get on like the junior worlds team for Australia.
Yeah.
And went over, and I think ended up winning the series. And that's sort of like, I don't know, even at that point of time I didn't think it's going to be my career.
Isn't it so crazy to, like, as you sit here now doing everything that you've done, to look back and think that you were still naive to the fact that you were going to be even a professional, let alone go on and achieve everything? Like, that's insane. Like, I guess too now, man, you think about it, like, so many kids now, it's just so mapped out.
Yeah.
Like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then you're on a team, and then you're doing World Cups, and I guess it's like kind of the same in moto, and like you're one of the best ever to do it, and it's like, oh yeah, I won by like 30 seconds, but still didn't really think that I'd be pro.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just, I don't know what it is really. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think
it's just like, it's obviously like my passion, and it was a dream and a goal, but it was never something I even like. There wasn't like, you didn't have a junior World Cup series back then like you do now. Like, juniors,
yeah,
you sort of had to race against everyone and make your mark.
Yeah,
Whereas nowadays, junior riders getting paid like on salaries, and they're fighting for a junior World Cup, and they might not even put down a time that qualifies with the main dudes. But
yeah, really.
back then, like, you try and, as a junior, we just try and qualify for the main show.
Yeah, man. This especially like downhill has just come so far in that, I guess, the period that your career has sort of gone through. Like, it was such a different landscape of, you had the June, like you said, you didn't ever have the World Series, because I remember, there was like you won the Junior Worlds, and then did you go and do like a race right after that was like a men's one, and you were right there?
Yeah, so 2002 Junior World Champs I won, and then the weekend after was the World Cup Finals in France. I think I got 10th like overall, which was
pretty legit.
Yeah.
Oh, so when you won that race by the junior by 30 seconds, what were like the East Coast people thinking? Because it's like, there's not even really big hills here, and then you've got this random kid that is just completely smoking everybody at the, like, what was the chat around the pits?
I don't really know. I think it was the under 17 class, and I had no idea what to expect. So I've just gone balls to the wall, really. Not think like my my goal going there was probably like a podium or a top 5 or something. So it was pretty crazy, I think, for me.
I just can't. I can't imagine the dads that would have been in the pits with like the serious racer vibes going on,
Yeah.
and this random kid from WA just shows up and just puts the wood to everybody.
I think that sort of more happened when I did I rocked up the next year for the first national series race
Yeah,
in somewhere in Sydney anyway, and no one really still knew me being from WA, and Ben Corey had just got back from racing world champs as a junior,
Yeah,
and I think I beat him by like a good margin, and then that's kind of alarmed people like, who is this dude? Like, did he actually do that, or is his time messed up type of thing?
yeah. Because that's what I remember from that time period. Is that camera all good? Yeah, I remember that being like kind of the chat was people like, yeah, this Sam Hill dude's like cutting the track. Like, because the thing is, like, downhill races were won by seconds, half seconds, tenths, and then you got this random dude from WA with flat pedals just coming and being like winning by 30 seconds. And it's just like, what's he doing up there?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it was. Like, being from WA, no one like knows who you are. To be the same for motocross, that sort of thing. Like, they're not used to someone new sort of coming in. So it was, I think, like my mate John Waddell, who used to race professionally downhill, spent a lot of time over the East Coast too, because he was from Perth, and he sort of like had me back with a few of the dudes, I think, and was like, nah,
He's legit.
he's
This is what he does to everybody.
he's a good rider. So yeah, I think yeah, and then obviously the next few races I was up there too. So
And so how did you... So you were saying today that you were doing school, you're doing like year 11, and then you went and did your first... So did that junior series then give you the opportunity to go to the States for the first time?
yeah, so the junior series was over like this, I guess, summer, end of 2000 into 2001. So then I got chosen. They take 7 juniors to the World Championship in 2001, which was in Vail, Colorado that year.
Yeah, yeah.
And Scott Sharples, he was like the head junior development coach, which they don't really do anymore, which is a shame. But he took us all over for, I think it was like a couple of months before the World Championship, and we did like a Norba in America. We did a World Cup in Mont Saint Anne, and did a bunch of riding and training and stuff like that. So it was a good sort of lead up into that big event.
What was your... Like, when you first got over there and you started doing runs and you were doing the chairlift runs and being amongst the scene? Because, like, I imagine it's kind of similar to moto. You get over to the US and you've watched all these tracks and you've seen all these riders, and then, you know, you get a chance to go and do it yourself. Do you remember what it was like that first trip?
I think because we were there was 7 of us, so we were all like kids in a candy store. It's, we're away from home, we're in a new country, we're all super excited to be there racing our bikes, and then you look around the pits and there's all the people you see in the magazines and on the videos and that sort of thing. So it was pretty bloody crazy and scary, I think, to be 16 and thrown into that.
And what was your riding like? Did you ride good when you went over to that? Because I mean, especially for me, you're just like, oh, Sam Hill's just that good at riding. But it's not like you're just blessed to where you don't have to try, you don't have to think about it, you just go and do it. Like, I'm sure you go through the same shit that every rider goes through, where they're like, oh, fuck, I hope I ride good tomorrow, and I'm so keen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think for guys like me looking at someone like you, we think it's just so easy. But did you get over there and have, like, was there like pressure on yourself to really want to ride good and really perform? And then did you ride good that first trip?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like you want to you want to go there and do good, so it's pressure on yourself really. The first big race we did was a Norba National in America, and we because we were all juniors, we were entered in the junior category, but I didn't have any World Cup points to race the World Cup the weekend after, so I actually raced the junior and the elite to try and get points. So in the junior, I remember I was worried that I was going to be too tired because juniors raced first, and then we had to go do the elite race, and I can't remember if there's qualifying and stuff as well. But I rode pretty casual in the junior, and I got second to an American kid, but I wasn't far behind him. And then I needed top 20 in the elite to get the points, and I ended up getting 14th, which was I think at the time I didn't think too much of it, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That I was able to do that, I think, and then going to Mont Saint Anne for the World Cup finals, I think it was. That 80 people used to qualify, and I qualified maybe like in the 50s range, somewhere like that. And then I think I might have ended up like 36 or something in the finals.
That's insane, eh?
As like a 16-year-old.
And how would your bike have been compared to the dudes that were at the top of that time?
Probably not awesome.
What bike were you on back then?
I was riding a Cortina, which was like a handmade bike by there was a family in Santa Barbara the Cortina family, and they used to make bikes in their garage, I think.
No way. How'd that happen?
I don't know. I used to think they looked sick in the magazines, and there was an Australian distributor. I ended up just getting one somehow, and then actually one of the sons of the family lent me like a dual slalom bike when I was over there to race.
Yeah, really.
Which was pretty cool. So.
Yeah. So that trip then, and then you go and you get that top 15. When are you still in your head? Like, when's it ticking that you're like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be the man.
I don't know. It's weird because you're still a junior. Like.
Yeah.
I got at the World Championships. I got third. Ben Corey won it, and then a French guy got second. So then, obviously, that's the last race of the year. I still got 2 more years in junior, and my goal was to go back and win the next year.
And so when you come home to Australia after that first trip, that's when you told your old boy that you were done with school, and you were just gonna, I'm done, man.
Yeah, I don't think it was like I'm going to be a professional mountain biker. I'm not going back to school, but I didn't like school. I couldn't see myself getting anything out of being at school or benefit from it at that time. So, missing that was halfway through year 11, and then I'd gone overseas. So, really, I've got like a term and a bit left, which I didn't want to be there. So, Dad decided, don't go, and I went and got a job, working with him, helping him out, and saving money so I can go racing next year.
What was your job with him?
I've had loads of random odd jobs. So.
Do you like working? Like,
yeah,
you enjoy hard work?
Yeah, I do. I think I don't know, Dad, like growing up, Dad always made us work for what we wanted, like even as a kid. So I sort of appreciate that, and I think it's probably made me understand what hard work is.
Yeah.
And that sort of related into being an athlete and putting the hard work in to get the results that I want.
Man, I've been thinking about that shit so much lately. Like, my old boy was just so hard on us. And it's funny because nowadays he's not, like he's nearly 60 and he's just the most like laid back, chilled dude now. But man, back in the day, it was just like a fucking slave driver, eh? Just like constantly doing renos and just the most random shit around the house. And I used to just fucking hate it. And
Yeah.
now I look at it and I'm like, oh, you're the man.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. That was sick. Now I actually know how to work because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I had like the sickest Diamondback Viper Chrome Ollie BMX probably when I was about 11. And my dad used to work offshore a lot. So I'd go away for like 4 weeks and be home for 4 weeks, and he'd cut this huge pile of firewood, and it was my job to wheelbarrow it and stack it in like the woodshed. And my payment was like this $14 pad set that I wanted for my BMX bike. And if I stacked all this wood, then I got it. And I remember I hadn't stacked like the wood in the time he wanted me to or something. He chained me BMX bike to the to the big saw he chopped the wood with, and I remember being terrified my bike was going to be sitting in the rain rusting, so I was just flat out in that wheelbarrow
to get it done.
Yeah, just I don't know. It's a different day now, I think, with kids, but
Yeah, what's it like? Because that's sort of, I guess, not why I've been thinking about it, but as you get older, you're like, oh, I'll probably have kids soon. Like, how will I treat my kids? You know, because it's funny, because in the time I was just like, fucking couldn't stand him for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just like, you're the biggest dickhead in the world.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
yeah, and then looking back, you appreciate it all.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like, yeah, I wonder now, eh? And the time has changed a bit, you know, like we didn't have phones and shit like that back in, you know, well, we sound old, but like back in those days, you know, but yeah, you wonder, like, how do you teach a kid to work hard these days?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I'm trying, but
Yeah, well, because you've got 3 little
Yeah.
terrors running around.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, fuck, it's just one of those things, eh? Like, those are the things that they probably helped make the Sam Hill that did what you did in that career. But when you look back at it, it's just shit where you're just like, fucking hell.
yeah. I think it just gives you more appreciation for life, and when you earn something, you appreciate it more.
Oh, definitely. And so, how much I was talking about, obviously, like, we're in WA, we had Leesky on last week and Sheeny, and I think, from me coming from Cairns, there was this this weird thing that isolation does to you. Like, you're not around all the big dudes, you don't grow up around all the big races and all the fast guys. You're just kind of by yourself, doing your own thing and hoping that you can be quick enough to race with. Like, for us, it wasn't the East Coast guys. For us, it was like the South guys, because we were so far up north. But how much did that, I guess, the WA deal play into you as developing as a rider?
Yeah, maybe it's like because for some reason you think those guys are going to be better than what they are,
Yeah.
or like you're scared to go and race them because you think they're going to be
Did you have that?
crazy fast. Yeah, I think until you sort of go over there and then
Beat them by 30 seconds.
race with them and figure out where you're at. I think it's definitely a thing that
Motivates
that
you.
people feel and motivates you, and sort of it might make you dig deeper and work harder.
Yeah, and so you had a bit of that going on?
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Yeah, because I imagine, I mean, fuck, it's a long way to get here. so I imagine when you're a kid in WA, and I mean, like, it's not like you guys even really had the hills.
Yeah,
Really?
We don't have a lot. I remember that first race I went for, I knew the track was like 7 minutes long. So every day after school, I'd go to 7 minutes as fast as I could doing laps to my local BMX track. And then I'd rest for a bit and I'd go again because we don't have a 7 minute long hill to practice on.
It's the most, like, when you look back at it now, like, we're sitting in a room with 5 world champs jerseys. That's just the world champs, let alone the overalls and then the EWSs. That's from a dude that didn't have any fucking hills where he lived. Like, how does it work? I don't get it.
I don't know. I love WA and I love where we live. I think we've got awesome trails and tracks to train on. We just don't have the actual height and elevation and the longer runs. But as far as terrain goes and that sort of thing, we've got a good variety and stuff to challenge us.
So you didn't have the elevation as such, but you had the conditions that let you develop the skills.
Yeah, and then obviously you just got to find alternative ways of being able to maximise your training so that when you do go, you know, whether it's a 5-minute run or in a downhill or a 15-minute run in EWS, you just got to maximise your training to be prepared for that.
It's so crazy to think of what you would have had to do creatively to train. In terms of like you just said, 7 minutes of BMX. That's crazy when you think about it, eh?
Yeah, well,
But it's crazy.
It's normal.
But
It's not
yeah.
like, to me, telling you it's normal because that's what I've known that I've had to do. But I guess for other people, that like, you know, if I go enduro training, I might go ride for 4 hours and I'll do 10 or 12 different tracks. But if you lived in Europe, you might do 2 tracks because it takes you an hour and a half or 2 hours to pedal to the top of the thing.
Yeah. I guess then the thing, like, you must have just really wanted it.
Yeah, I did.
But
That's something that I think, like your mind and your determination, no matter what it is in life, I think that can carry you a long way in life.
so when was so for my personal example, it wasn't until I started training jiu-jitsu that I like found that gear in me. Like motocross, it was a struggle. Mountain bikes, it was a struggle. I was like, fuck, I'm just not good. And it was so hard. And you end up, I guess, telling yourself that you're not, you can't. I think that was like my example. And then I look at other people, I'm like, now, again, coming from a place of, I guess, I figured out something in myself a little bit. And now I think if I went back, I probably could not say be better rider or faster or whatever like that. But I feel like I understand, like, no, it's not about what you're born with, or it's not about any of that shit. It's literally just how bad you want it and how hard you work.
Yeah. I've like always, you can put the work in, you can have the skill, you can have less skill. You see it all the time in people. People have all the talent in the world and they don't have the determination or the want, and it just gets sort of wasted. And then you might see someone else that's always been second best to that person, but their hunger and their desire and determination, they thrive later on in life. Like,
yeah, well, you look at perfect example would be like a Cooper Webb type guy.
yeah, even look, Dungy, like
Yeah,
Villapoto was always second to Alessi. And look how
he turned out alright.
yeah, he did not too bad. So
So did you always have that gnarly like want and that deep kind of burning desire to? Because man, most kids won't do laps of a BMX track for 7 minutes because that's, you know what I mean. They'll be like, oh, if I can't do down and runs, if I don't have this good bike, if I don't have this, if I don't have that, like you put all these kind of like conditions on yourself,
Yeah.
and if they're not met, you can't be good. Whereas it seems like you didn't care.
no, not really. That's you. If you want something, you've got to make it happen for yourself. Really, you can't. No one else can do it for you. You can't make excuses. You just got to do it.
Where did you learn that, or like when did that click? Because it seems like that happened pretty young.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably just the way I grew up.
Yeah.
Maybe having an older brother and his mates and trying to keep up with them and sort of, you know, we'd be able to jump, and most of the time they'd dare me into being the first person to try and jump the thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that is that's definitely a thing, like the young brother thing, because you're always just chasing your big brother around, and they're like always gonna make you do some dumb shit, and there's probably like an element of you wanting to like level up to hang with the boys, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
And then that can push you onto crazy shit.
Yeah, sort of just like makes you progress a bit faster than you would if you were just with your mates your age, I guess, because you're going up.
Yeah. When like, I guess there's got to have been a point where you knew that something legit was going on. You know what I mean? Like I can see how you're like, oh, it was just a junior, it was just this, it was just that. But there's got to be a point where that desire that you had, you're like, fuck yeah, this actually can happen. I can be the best in the world.
I think I always just wanted more.
Yeah.
Like, so with that first junior worlds, I had no idea where I was going to get. Like, going against every fast junior kid in the world, and I got third. And I don't know if I was expecting that. It's maybe what I like. The podium's probably what I wanted. Probably wanted to win, but from there, like, then I wanted to win the win it the next year.
Yeah.
And then I had another year, so I didn't want to not win it because I had won it. And then I got out of juniors and I wanted to win the elite one. I don't think I ever had like a point where I was sort of like,
thought you'd made it.
yeah, I don't think like I thought, oh, I've made it, this is me, like, I'm here. I always just wanted to strive. I always had a goal.
Yeah.
And I still do now.
Yeah, man, it's such a gnarly, guess, just like, because it just feels like you've done, or so much of it's just come from like in you, you know. And there's so many people where you can be really good and you can get to, you know, you can win worlds and you can be like a top level athlete, but it's comes from like you, and then it comes from this person, and you've got this guy that helps you out. And I'm sure there was like a lot of people that helped you out, but you're just like it's just such an unlikely story. Like if you look back at it now, or even if you said like, hey, there's this random kid from WA, there's not really that many hills around, he's going to be the dude that can ride downhill faster than anyone. You know what I mean? Like the conditions weren't exactly set up for this to be the story.
Yeah.
But it is the story, and that to me looks like it fully just came from you.
Well, I don't know, just I've always like set goals and worked towards them, and even when I've won world championships, like, I'm happy at the end of the day. I feel like I've succeeded in what I was there to do. But then there's always another year and another race. And I want to. I think if you sort of like settle yourself in the moment and you're satisfied and you're happy, then you can't keep progressing.
Yeah. Did you feel like, did it feel good to win though?
Yeah, 100%. No, there's nothing that feels better at a race.
So, because I guess like there's people that it's like winning's not enough, you know, and it's like the next and the next and the next and the next. So it's like, are you one of those guys or?
Nah, it's not like that for me. I think I'm not like crazy about celebrating that I've won and, you know, going wild. I'm like happy that I've done what I have been aiming for and training for, and that I paid to do by my team. So it's sort of like you've done your job, and like, yeah,
on to the next.
Yeah. But if you like say you don't win or you crash or you ruin your race, you sort of left feeling, I guess, a bit defeated. Like you've got all these awesome people backing you and supporting you, and you've sort of let them down.
Yeah.
You've let yourself down. So that's kind of like, it's motivation to go prove them all wrong again. But
yeah,
for me, winning's like a satisfaction that you've done what you set out to do.
Yeah. Are you one of the guys that likes winning more or hates losing?
Probably hate losing.
Yeah. That's funny. Like with me, with like the jiu-jitsu shit, like winning doesn't really matter as much as not losing.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, not losing is winning, and you're like, no. The losing thing is worse. Like,
yeah.
Even if it's like, yeah, don't even give me a medal for winning. I just don't want to lose.
Yeah.
So that's how you feel.
Because you got to look at people, some that have beaten you, that you probably don't like most of the time, and that sort of it's like rubbing salt in the wound.
Yeah, true, eh? Yeah, I just there's just something that felt or like especially I don't know. I don't know what it is about the jiu-jitsu shit, but like fuck losing sucks so bad. Where it's just like the winning thing doesn't even matter. It's just like just don't lose.
Yeah.
That's all I give a fuck about. When was the first like the team thing come about? Like is that I mean I'm sure that's like a pretty huge moment, especially being from here, like that you get on a team and things are paid for and you can just like concentrate on like doing it. Well, I guess then it becomes a job.
Yeah, so like I said before, Scott Sharples, who was like the Australian junior downhill coach after the first Worlds in 2001, he got me like a free bike off Jeff Stieber in Intense.
Yeah.
And I remember ringing the post office nearly every day for like a month. I was like, is my box there? Just hanging for this bike. So that was, back then, that was like the coolest bike ever, I think.
That was the M1, right?
Yeah.
Is that one there?
Yeah. So that rolled in full Fox Intense race kit, everything like what Kovarik had. Who obviously Kovarik was like an idol back then. So yeah, that was sort of the first sponsorship I had in mountain biking, and then the year after that, I got onto a team which was Iron Horse Mad Cats back then.
Yeah.
With Nathan Rennie, Jared Graves, and Bryn Atkinson as our teammates. So it was a bit of an underdog team. I think Rennie was kind of the only known sort of racer on the team that had made it. Iron Horse, people probably would have laughed at you that you're riding that bike.
Yeah, what was the deal with that team? Because Crazy Mad Cats was like a gaming thing, right?
Yeah, they used to make like all Xbox
like controllers
and stuff, yeah.
So that team, what was that? Was that bike not supposed to be good?
So what it was is back then the guy who started the team, Sean Heimdall, he was from San Diego. He must have had connections at Mad Cats.
Yeah.
But he basically called Iron Horse, who was also the distributor for B1 bikes, which I don't know if you remember what they were. But they had a World Cup team, so he'd called them saying he wanted to start this team, and he was actually looking to try and get B1 bikes as the bike brand sponsor, I think.
Yeah.
And then they said, no, we'll support you, but we want to put you on Iron Horse. Yeah. So the bike was actually pretty good in the end, but sort of diving into it, I think it was a pretty risky move. Maybe for Rennie, for the rest of us, we didn't have a team or any other choices really.
What was Rennie coming off?
He'd been off Yeti, so he'd been on Yeti for quite a while, and I think he'd had a fair few good results at World Cup level and stuff. But yeah,
dude, there was the Aussie. I mean, Aussies have always represented pretty solidly in downhill, but that era that come just before you, and then what you did, pretty insane level of, because there was like Mick Hanna, Sean McCarroll, Rennie, Kovarik, Ronning, Graves, like fucking hell, man. It was wild, eh? Like the dudes that come out of Australia.
Yeah, there was Johnny Waddell, Scott Sharples was like one of the first dudes to go over with Ronning. But yeah, around when I was there was a handful of dudes that could podium a World Cup. We had like quite a strong representation for Australia for a while.
And so where did you slot in to that crew as like the young kid from WA?
I don't know. It was kind of Rennie and then the rest of us.
Yeah, really?
But that's like some of the funnest times I've had just hanging out with those dudes. And, Rennie was sort of like the veteran of the team, so he's a bit of a mentor to all of us and sort of guided us, whether it was good or bad, through.
He's a loose
through the year, so yeah.
What was downhill like in general back then? Was it a lot wilder than, I guess all sports were a little bit wilder back then, but I mean that was still kind of the skin suit era in a way, eh?
Yeah, I think the tracks were a lot more raw and rugged. Obviously, they still had the Norba American National Series back then, which was like like you could make. There was plenty of riders making a living just racing that. You didn't have to do the World Cup, so
they had like movies and everything. What were those movies around the Norbers? Was it Clay Porter that did those?
Yeah, Clay. He sort of started a couple of years after that, I think.
Yeah, because I remember, man, I had these. I wish I could remember the name of them. I was thinking about it just the other day, but there was some sick movies from the Norbers.
Yeah,
and they had like the sickest soundtracks too.
Yeah,
and that was that era of you guys. And like there was what was that race Kovarik won by like 12 seconds in the mud?
Oh, that was Fort William.
Was it
Fort William World Cup? Yeah, I think it was 14 seconds.
Did he? There was one. He won that one, but then he won another Norba too, right? And it was like a full-on mudder, and he won by some ridiculous margin again there too.
Yeah,
I think it was right around that same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole Norba scene was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it was. That was some of the best racetracks we've been to, I think, and some of the funnest races I've had.
What was the vibe like of that whole? Because you just get on a team, you travel in the world, you're around all those dudes. Like, I gotta imagine, and especially being young too, you got no kids, you got none of the, I guess, like the responsibilities that you've got now. Was it just a fun time?
Yeah, it was. It was scary, sort of. I was leaving home for 6 months, without sort of having too much of a relationship with anyone on the team, and I didn't even know Sean or my mechanic JC back then. So yeah, to go over there as a 17-year-old or something was a bit wild, but I think just all the times every day we were on the bikes messing around, whether we were just on the hardtails, down at the local mall messing around the streets or dirt jumping or whatever it was, we were always just hanging out as like a little pack and having a good time.
Yeah, that must have been some fun years. Like, you think about like the timeline of your career before, because you almost become like a victim of your own success, right? Like, the better you do, the more pressure you put on yourself to do better. And then, like, pressure's good, obviously, if, you've earned that pressure, but pressure's not fun.
No, it's not fun. I think, like, you start doing good and then you're expected to do good. So it's not like you can roll up to a race now and get beaten and no one says anything. It's like, what happened? What did you do? What went wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of can't just like, oh, I just had a shit day. People are like, well, you don't have shit days.
Yeah. It's, the better you do, the more pressure you got on yourself to stay there, I think.
Yeah. When, what was the results like on that team, with the, Iron Horse team, like?
So basically Rennie his deal was the Norbers and the World Cups.
Yeah.
And then the other three of us were just supposed to race the Norbers and I think there was 2 North American World Cups. But me and Jared Graves decided we'd pay for ourselves to go do the European World Cups as well. At the first one, Graves had an accident and punctured a kidney
oh, damn.
It was our first time at Fort William, one of the gnarliest, roughest tracks, and I think we'd done like 12 runs on the first day of practice. You can't feel your hands or your arms or anything. Graves decided he'd go for run number 13, and I think he hit it.
Good call.
Ended up hitting a tree. And then that was him out for that year. So,
had you already like committed to doing all of it? Like, you'd already paid for all your shit, or were you just doing it round by round?
Nah, so my return flight was paid by the team to America and back, and I got like a real small salary, sort of to live on. And I was lucky. I did the Red Bull ride that year
What's
in
that?
Jindabyne. It's a free ride event that they used to have,
Yeah.
and I actually ended up winning, and I got $6,000 prize money, and I sold my intents from the year before. So I had like a bit of money to pay for those flights and just to survive on.
Isn't it fucking crazy how much money you weren't making back then, and like what you put into, like you pretty much would have put everything you made back into like your racing.
Yeah, well, it's totally different now for the juniors. I think because they do have their own category, whereas back then there wasn't that. So I wasn't like anything really to anyone, I guess.
Yeah. So you pretty much were like reinvesting what you were making so that you could do more races.
Yeah.
So sick. And how did those first World Cups go?
Well, that first World Cup in Fort William, I ended up getting fifth, which was like top 5 on the podium.
Yeah.
And I must have raced. I could not qualified as good, so I come down a little bit earlier. And I remember, like, we were in the side of the top 10, and a couple of my mates were around me, and they're like, "You're going to podium," and I was like, "Nah, I don't want that." I was like, I don't know how to open champagne, and I'm fucking too scared to go up on the podium because people are going to be taking photos and looking at me. I was hoping for a 6th place under the radar. Let's go home. But I ended up 5th.
So let's just talk about that real quick. Why did you not want people taking your photo and looking at you?
Well, I don't know. I'm a shy kid. I didn't want the attention.
So have you thought about that? So I'm the exact opposite to you. And to me, in my mind, it's a problem. Like, I actually wish I was more like you. But for whatever reason, I'm fucking not. I just can't shut up all the time. And then I think I'm like, just fucking shut up, dude. Like, you don't need to talk about much. But on your side, do you have like, so if I'm the exact opposite and I think that about myself, what do you think about the fact that you're shy and don't like saying a lot?
Ugh.
Would you like to be like that? Or like, do you prefer to be like that? Or do sometimes you wish you were more outgoing?
Yeah, I think it would definitely probably help me out in life sometimes if I was more outgoing. I think my shyness sort of comes across as arrogance and rude to a lot of people that don't know me. So for people that don't know me and to get that sort of idea or perspective of me before even realising who I am kind of sucks. But that's how I am. I think as I've got older and sort of throughout my career had to face media and this sort of stuff more often, it's become a little less stressful for me and a little bit less scary.
So is it to the point where, because it's funny though, right? Because this is what makes Sam Hill this fucking unicorn. Doesn't talk, doesn't do interviews, because so many people will race motocross, downhill, snowboard to be a fucking star, to be the man. That's what people want, and they want the attention, and they want the photos, and they want all that shit, and you don't.
No.
You don't want any of it. So I think it's like, it's interesting that you say that, people think that you're like rude or it comes across as arrogant, but it also kind of builds to this like aura and mystique. Like, dude, so many people hit me up about having you on the podcast. I didn't think it'd ever fucking happen. I was like, mate, he doesn't talk. Like, he's not going to come talk to me. He doesn't want to fucking talk to anyone.
I told you the first time you asked me, I said, I said, I hate talking. Somehow you got me on here, so.
But it's, it's interesting that, because for me, I was always like, I'd looked at talking too much as like this negative, and then you look at your shyness as like a negative. It's fucking weird how it works, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's different, I guess, and that's like, everyone's themselves, which is a good thing.
Yeah. What were you always like that? You were just always a shy kid doing his own thing?
Yeah.
Because you don't have shy boys here. They didn't get that. They're loving it.
Yeah, I think I was a lot like Drake, like
Yeah.
shy around people until I'm like comfortable with them,
Yeah.
and then I'd be a menace,
Yeah.
or like as a kid try to show off to them or something, you know.
And then when it come to just when it come to generally being out and about and the racing thing and the podiums and it just was never something you felt. Did you just not feel comfortable with it?
Yeah, it was just scary for me, I think.
Yeah.
But it's not something it's something that comes with my sport and my career.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I like.
Seek out.
It's not something. It's not like to me. It's not the part of the career I want.
Yeah.
Like I want the racing and the competition and that the other stuff doesn't really bother me. And one of the best things about where I live is no one knows anything about me or mountain biking. So I just come.
Even the dude that stole your pants from the tip.
Yeah. Like, to me, I'm just a normal person. I'm good at riding a bike, which is my job. So I just come home from my job and I'm just a normal dude and I just want to be a dad to my kids and live a normal life. Like the other stuff, being famous doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, so many people, it's about that. You know what I mean? So many people will get up and train just so that they can be famous and that they can have to, deal with all, like, they get all of those things that you're kind of describing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just, I personally think it's the fucking best thing because I'm such an opposite person to it. But, when I look at the way that I am and, you wish that I could be more like you in that sense. Yeah. But then it's funny that, you think the opposite,
Yeah.
Was it just like overwhelming in a way to have that many people like frothing out on you when you don't see yourself the way that other people are seeing you? Like, you are the epitome of just like a normal, humble dude. But then people coming up like, fucking Sam Hill, oh, fucking Sam. And is that where like it gets weird? Because you can't kind of see the way that they see you.
Yeah, well, I've got heroes. Like, I've got people in other sports that I look up to. So I understand it. But it's still, like, for me, it's like an awkward thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but it's definitely something I've, like, learned to get more comfortable with over the years.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, at the start of my career, it was something that was pretty hard to sort of, like, probably handle in the right way.
Who were the people, like, were there people around you that were trying to help you through that sort of stuff? Or, like, did people... Because nowadays, I feel like there's so much media training, and it's probably as well just got something to do with the fact that you come from WA, and it's pretty out of the way.
Yeah.
People are just doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Were there people around you that were trying to like, help you through that process, or did you even keep it quiet that it was something that you were, I don't know, that it was like a hard thing to deal with?
Yeah, I don't know. Never really spoken about it too much. I think lots of people that sort of do know me and figured me out know that I'm sort of shy and reserved. But yeah, it's not something really I got like help or guided through from an early age.
Yeah. Yeah, because these days, man, like, kids are so switched on with that sort of shit. Like, feels like most kids are just media trained straight off the rip now.
Yeah. Well, I think even now, like you see, all the stuff on TV and Instagram of people sort of like podium speeches and that. So as a kid, you might sort of see that and know how to handle it because you've seen it so many times.
Yeah. Whereas with you, it probably wasn't as much like that.
Yeah, I was just come from WA where you thank your mum and dad on the podium and then you're out of there as quickly as you can.
Thank me, mum and dad, for bringing me.
Yeah, that's about as far as it went.
So when did you then, I guess, start, like, the ball really start rolling for you in terms of, like, results and teams and contracts and, like, going from small sign on, paying your own way to then shit starting to fucking blow up for you?
Well, that first year on Iron Horse Mad Cats, I had some pretty good results. Even like within the senior sort of thing. So then going into 2004, I was stepping up to elite.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the first sort of year I started actually getting a salary.
Yeah. Did you have, like, management and stuff at that point, or did you just always do everything yourself?
I'm pretty sure I got some help, like from Scott Sharples.
Yeah.
He's in the early stages of my career, like as a junior, and even transitioning into that. He's obviously someone I leaned on for a lot of advice, even with my training and stuff. He used to write me training programs and
Yeah, right.
all that sort of thing. So yeah, I think I drew as much information and that from him.
What was your process or approach to training back then? Because, yeah, you leave the races and then it's back home doing your own thing. Like, you're obviously super self-motivated, but what was in your head how you went about training, and, you know, what was the things that you did to get ready for these races, like, completely by yourself?
Yeah, obviously back then it wasn't anywhere near as serious or as many hours sort of training as what people are doing nowadays. So yeah, it was fairly minimal really for what we should have been doing. But I think every year it sort of progressed, and every year you'd have a new goal for yourself, or you didn't want someone else to beat you and take you down. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was just going off what I'd been given by Scott and just sticking to it and making sure I did it.
Yeah, and did you find like, obviously now when you look back, you're like, oh, I could have done this, this, and this. As you just learn more and the sport evolves, I guess it's just like every action sport's become pretty legitimate in terms of, like, the training programs and stuff like that. But were you pretty self-motivated to do the work? Like, you found it easy to get out and smash out what you needed to do, or was training like a hard kind of thing to do? Like, it was just something that you just got through so that you could be good at the race?
No, I think I was pretty motivated for it and stuck to it, but I think sort of all the excitement of just sort of getting into it professionally and being young, it didn't seem like you were just going riding.
Yeah, it wasn't training back then.
It was just what type of riding were you going to do on that day. It wasn't like, oh, I've got to go do this. It was just like, oh, that's what we're going to do today. So you just go out for a ride.
Yeah, well, even today when we rode, like, you were just literally doing motos, and it was, well, I'm watching you ride, I'm like, yeah, okay, fuck, makes sense. He's a savage.
And didn't feel like I was out there for very long. The old arms start struggling after a couple laps.
The last one that you did, you're out there for a hot minute. That was a solid little ride.
Solid minute.
Yeah, we're calling it a hot minute because it was probably a minute 45. Nah, I reckon you were easy out there for 15.
Yeah.
I'm calling it 15 for real.
Maybe all up.
Dude, I would have been lucky to be out there for 15 all up. And so when was the first like win that went down, and like what was the, I guess, the feeling like to win your first race? Because I'm sure at this point, like, was there a bit of hype that started happening around this Sam Hill dude?
Yeah, I think so, and I think I'd probably sort of got onto a few of the top dudes' radars, and I think there was definitely like a few of the established guys that weren't super pumped on me coming in,
Fucking
and
shit up.
yeah, I guess so. But like that first year in '04 as a elite, I ended up second overall in the World Cup. I didn't win any World Cups that year. There was one that I, in my mind, was going to win, and I think because I knew it, by the time the finals came, in my mind I ended up just riding too tight because I didn't want to ruin it and throw it away.
Yeah, right.
But because I rode like that, I threw it away.
So, all right. So, what happens? Were you just ripping in practice, and you're like, oh, okay, I literally can't lose.
I just think it was like a track that I gelled with and loved, and I knew like I'm going to win this race. And then yeah, all the emotions and I guess the pressure that I put on myself from that didn't allow me to ride how I should have ridden.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So, what goes into a race where you know you're gonna win? Like, what are the things that come together in a day like that?
Well, I think sometimes like it's you can know it before you've even ridden the track.
Really?
Like you walk the track, and you just I don't know you know in your mind that it's going to be your weekend.
What? It just the look of the track? Is it how you feel? Is it previous rounds? Is it days training?
I think it's a combination of things and knowing that maybe the track, like how you're feeling at the time. If you're like sort of vibing well with the track or just feeling good, you know. So yeah, but then obviously other times you don't know, and you know it might be close, and then you might end up winning or you might end up just missing out on it. But there's definitely been races in my career where I've gone there and I've known that I'm going to win, and I have.
What races? You got any in particular?
Um,
I want to go back and watch them.
Mont Saint Anne 2009.
Yeah.
I was in the title fight with Petey, and Petey's sort of known that Mont Saint Anne's like one of his tracks.
Yeah, true way.
And I knew that I was going to win it, and I think I pumped him by like 7 seconds in qualifying.
Wow.
And then I just knew the next day I didn't have to do anything crazy. Just had to ride to the bottom of the hill without lucking it up.
That's so sick. Man, it must be like the coolest feeling to be sitting in that box and have that level of... Because it doesn't feel like, though, with you, that like cockiness ever enters the picture. Because, so you could say that, right? So I imagine if like a guy like Cedric said that, like, I'm going to win, I'd be like, you're just a fucking cocky French dude.
Yeah.
But it seems like with you, it doesn't feel like you're saying that out of like cocky, I'm the man, I'm going to fuck these dudes up kind of deal. It more seems like you're just analysing it in your head like, oh, okay, 1 + 1 equals I'm going to win this race.
Yeah, you're just confident, believe in yourself. But I would never tell you before the race, or like I might tell my wife, but I'm not going to go around the pit saying I'm going to win this race.
That's so G though, to just hold those cards to your chest and go out and then actually execute it.
It's just I don't know. You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
But you don't go and say that, because if you don't go and do it, then you just look like an idiot.
Yeah, true. So that race, 09, Mont Saint Anne, when you're in that, because downhill's so gnarly, like you pretty much can't make a mistake. You've got to be so on point, and to do like some of the ways that you won were just like ridiculous ways to win. So when you had some of those runs where like 09 Mont Saint Anne, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna win. What does it actually feel like on the bike in your race run?
I don't know. I've had so many races where I've felt different things. Like I've had races where I've like ended up talking to myself inside my head
Really?
as I'm riding down, and they're normally the races that don't go that good.
Okay.
And then I've had races where I haven't, like, it's like absolute silence from finish or start to finish, and there's crowds on the side cheering you on and screaming and chainsaws and air horns and everything, but you're that focused and in the zone that you don't hear one noise. And then there's races where you're just so focused on what's coming ahead. You're thinking about what's ahead, you get through that. You're thinking about the next thing, you get through that, and then before you know it, you're at the finish line.
That's it's real interesting. I mean, I've been well, it's one of the coolest things about doing this podcast is I get to meet and talk to so many dudes like you that just do what they do so well to just a crazy level. And everybody sort of says the same thing about those moments where it's like, I'm not talking to myself in my head.
Yeah.
There's nothing else going on. It's just purely you experiencing the run, and then it's over. And do you almost have like those is there like a point where you come back to being Sam Hill at the end of that run and you're like, fuck, what did I just do?
Yeah. So those runs where you're in the zone and you don't hear, or like nothing else enters your mind, like it's almost like you're on autopilot. There's nothing you can do to put yourself into that or like prepare yourself for that. It's just, they're just like the occasional times for some reason that you just end up putting a run in that's like that, and every time I've had one of them runs has been like a winning run. So I don't know if it's like, I guess, mentally visualising it over and over like during the week, and then when it comes time to execute it, you just like
You just do it.
You just zoned out, that nothing else comes into your mind. It's, I don't know, it's
Have
like
you
it's
thought
just
about it
surreal.
much?
I have, because this has come up a few times, and it's hard to explain. And if I could make myself do that every time I raced, I would, because I know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that I can put my finger on to say, all right, I'm going to do this, so that I get myself in that state of mind when I'm racing.
Yeah. So, with like, so I've been doing, it's so random, but there's ties between like what you're describing and pretty much what like meditation and shit is. So when there's no, so like, you know how you said, sometimes you're talking to yourself in your mind and they're the races that go shit.
Yeah.
So like that voice in your head, the voice that essentially you're talking to yourself. So like that's what Buddhism they call the self, right? And so when there is no self, what happens is, because all that self is explaining to you're explaining to yourself what you're already experiencing.
Yeah.
So it's like a commentary over what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's like this whole separate process of the brain. And when you're in that state of no self, there's no self-talk, there's no self-conversation. It's just you, the person before that voice, experiencing whatever it is that you're experiencing. And I think that from, like I said, from talking through to so many different people on the podcast, like I'm pretty convinced that's what it is.
Yeah.
That there's just, and I think, what's it called? It's called, so there's panoramic flow, absorbed flow. So there's like, have you ever been traveling or something and you see some like crazy fucking hills or like a gnarly like a mountain vista or a crazy view, and you just like snap into something, and you're just like fully in the moment, like looking at what you like, what's in front of you.
Yeah.
So there's like that, that's called panoramic flow, when there's so much to take in that it kind of gives you that same hit. And then there's absorbed flow, which is where you're so concentrated on what you're doing that self kind of falls back. And it's funny, man, like in the Rhino podcast, when he was talking about Carmichael, he's like, the dust, the ego, like, goes away. And man, everyone just says the same thing. And I really think that's what it is, eh? Like that self that you're talking to, in the voice in your head, it's pulling you out of the actual experience of racing your bike down the hill or surfing or whatever it is. And it's like, at the level and the speed that you guys are going, just that little conversation with yourself is enough to just completely fuck a race.
Yeah. Yeah, you're obviously not concentrating or like doing what you need to be doing because you're thinking or like having these thoughts of something else, whatever it is. If you hit like the wrong line, and then you start saying like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Let's go faster. But then you probably make another mistake.
Do you get in that state, like that flow state with no voice in your head? Do you get in that in other places in your life?
No, just racing.
It's crazy, eh? It's crazy, man, that there's one place.
Yeah.
That gets it for you.
Yeah, and it might, I don't know, it might happen one race a year. It might happen. You might not have it happen one year. Like, it's not like a thing that's a regular occurrence.
Yeah. What do you think it would be like if you could, let's say it was like a fucking dropper post, and you know what I mean? You could just push the button. What do you think that racing would be like then?
Wow. I don't know. I think that it, as an athlete, it would be pretty awesome to be able to turn it on or off like that. But it's also, I don't know, it's like, it's so special when it does happen for you.
Yeah.
If you could just make it happen, it wouldn't be like that magical special run type thing.
Yeah, that's true, eh? Have you looked back at those runs and been like, fuck, that was it? That was one of those times?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it sinks in straight away. It's more like, because when you cross the finish line, then it's sort of like normal worlds around again. And then sometimes it might be like later that night and you're sort of thinking like about what the day's happened, and then you're like, oh shit, I actually don't remember hearing it one person my whole race run.
Yeah. Yeah, because, so, again, it's sort of comes back to the jiu-jitsu thing, but the place where I experienced that, jiu-jitsu, every time I roll. There'll be the odd roll, I guess, where I'm like thinking about, oh, I should do this or I should do that. And it's probably when I'm going with people that aren't as good as me, like in terms of the level.
Yeah.
So I've kind of got a bit more time. But when it's with people that are like better than me or equal, then it's just like full send. I'm
just super focused on it.
Gone. Just gone. And it's such a sick feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I've had times where I've left the gym feeling like I've just done drugs. Because you've just been in that place for, half an hour's worth of training.
Yeah.
And it's just such a gnarly place to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can imagine that it would be like almost like a search for you to get into that place each race run.
Yeah, it's I guess it's something I've thought about a lot and wondered like how to get there, because it can make, like, I think it could make you perform that much better on the day.
Yeah. Have you still won races where obviously you've still won races where it hasn't been like that?
Yeah. But I'd say most of my races, it hasn't been that. but then maybe like 10% of the ones I have won have been in that state of mind, and they've been like probably the more special ones, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know if because they're races I've wanted to perform at a higher level, if I've been more focused and more mentally prepared and like envisioned it for however long.
Yeah.
That maybe that's just where it goes. Like from the day a world championship ends, when I was racing downhill, I'd think about when my next chance was.
Really?
Like you're waiting the whole year, and that's what I want to win again. So I guess some of those runs are the ones that it's happened on. So whether I've just been so mentally,
like invested.
invested and I guess just thought about it so much in my mind that that's what I want and that's what I'm going to go and do. That when you get there, maybe just everything else turns off. I don't know.
Are you obsessed with it, you reckon?
Nah, I wouldn't. I don't know.
But
sounds weird.
Yeah, no, that does sound weird. But in terms of like, you thought about it every day for a year.
Well,
like to win the world champs, like it's your job. It should you should be taking your job seriously. But it's like, is there like, because there would be people that could go through race at a high level and they probably don't, like if they didn't perform or they won and then they wanted to win again, they wouldn't think about it in the way that I think you think about it, like every single day, just like envisioning every run over and over.
I don't look at winning a race like just like it's not my job just to go and win a race. It is my job, but that's not how I look at it. I want to win the race for myself, not for anyone else.
Do you reckon?
So every day, if I'm training and I'm living and breathing my job, in my mind, my job's to go and win that race. So that's what I'm thinking about doing.
Where does that, I guess, that frame of mind come from? Because that's always something that I find real interesting in people as well. Like, for me, I'm a fucking nerd. I feel like I have to learn everything from books and, like research and shit like that. But there's other people that they seem to find real legitimate wisdom and knowledge just by doing them.
Well, I think I'm fairly stubborn. So when I want something, I'm gonna make sure I do my best to make it happen. So I don't know if that's sort of what drives me.
Just wanting it that bad.
Yeah, but that goes back to what I was saying before about like your hunger and your determination. As an athlete, I don't think it even matters what you're doing. If there's something you want in your life or your career or anything, you got to make it happen for yourself, and the mental side of that can take you a lot, like so far.
Yeah. When was like, I guess the first time that give it a swiggy. When was the first time that shit like paid off for you, to where you were like, oh cool, if I just do this with everything, I can do pretty much whatever I want?
Well, I don't think it's like something that I just thought of and then applied it to my life. It's just how I've been.
Yeah, because I guess some people just figure that kind of shit out on their own time, like through their own program. Like some people, because some people like don't have to be pushed into things. Some people don't really have to be coached. Like, well, and actually speaking on that too, like did you coach yourself riding wise as well? Because I mean, we're talking a lot about the mental side of the sport, but like the physical side of it as well was, like, has this been like kind of you figuring this out on your own?
Yeah, I don't. There's not like any mountain bike coaches or like people to help you out growing up like there is with motocross. I guess there's so many coaches that sort of teach the kids how to get faster and better. That wasn't really a thing in mountain biking. It's still not really a thing. When Sharples was like the junior development coach, he was more sort of teaching us how to be athletes, I guess.
Yeah, like the training side.
Yeah, the
of it.
training side. It wasn't like we'd go into a corner and work on techniques and brake control and foot position and all that sort of thing. That's just something that I think I've taught myself from always, wanting to be better and wanting to go faster. And I'd keep going, practice 3 corners over and over until I had skin messing off my elbows because I found the limit.
Really?
And then, I don't know, that was what was fun for me. Like, you'd hit a corner as fast as you could with a mate, and then you'd push back up and go again and see you can go even faster than the last dude.
So were you thinking about it in terms of technique then? Or was it just going faster?
Yeah, it was just about trying to go faster through the section. But I think that's where the skills and the sort of comfort on the bike and figuring out what the bike can do and how far you can push it and
Yeah.
how much to trust your tyres and that sort of thing. I think that's where all those skills have come from.
Yeah. And so, because your style, like when you first came on the scene, especially like that elite kind of scene, you were doing shit super different in terms of lines that you were taking, the way that you were taking turns, the flat pedals. Like, you really were a dude that came in and changed the way that people rode mountain bikes.
Yeah, I think, like you're saying with the lines, I was always looking for ways to conserve energy down the track. So if I could ride the inside line where it's smooth and without going through all the braking bumps, the same speed as I could ride through the braking bumps and around the corner, I was going inside. I was saving the arms. So I was just always trying to be creative and find shorter lines if I can sort of cut insides and you miss tiny bit of the track where everyone else is going, then those little lines and milliseconds down the track, that's what adds up to getting the fastest time.
And when did you start doing that? Like, when did you start kind of really playing with that type of riding? And what did you know that it was different to what other people were doing?
Yeah, I definitely did, because I think a lot of people just rode the track and rode the line that was there.
Yeah.
Without sort of looking
Just
around.
a little bit.
Yeah. But that's something I was doing even when I was just getting into like the state sort of series over in WA as a young kid.
And so then you go and start applying that. Like, was it easier to apply that kind of riding on the World Cup tracks, like bigger and longer and faster? And like, was it sort of surprising in a way that how it ended up? Because like we said, like, people just weren't winning races by that much.
Yeah, well, I think like you go, the tracks are bigger, the tracks are wider, they're longer. There's more opportunities to be creative with your line choice. So, yeah, I think coming from WA as well, all of our sort of the ground and dirt here is quite slippery pea gravel. So I'm always grown up comfortable with the bike sort of moving
Sliding.
around under me.
Yeah.
I never ride in the rain or the mud and I've done really good at mud races, and I put it down to that because
Just being so loose.
like my whole off season, summertime here, the bike's doing its own thing. It's like riding a marble. So that's kind of how it is to ride on the mud over there. So I think that's how that sort of worked out for me. But
It's so bizarre, how like these just random factors that it's not like you chose to have that dirt
yeah,
or hot summers in WA, but they all add up to this career. Like, it must be weird being, like you said, normal, humble dude. Like, you don't buy into any of the fucking Sam Hill goat shit. You know, but like, do you almost sit back sometimes and be like, fuck, this is weird how this all worked out?
well, I don't think it's weird. I'm pretty grateful, really, like, to think that I'm 35, 36 this year. I've got a house, I've got a family, and I've provided for us all since I was 18 years old. You know, I never probably thought that I would still be going at this age in my life. So that's pretty sick.
Yeah, oh, dude, it's been a insane career, but it's just these random factors that helped make this superhuman dude on a bike, and in so many ways that, like, that it's because there's guys that win world championships and there's guys that win world cups and there's like people win races,
Yeah,
but there was just something different about like the way that you won. And you talk about like, yeah, pea gravel, the way that you ride here, and just these, it's like little things that you did differently and little things that were in your environment, not necessarily in your control, but they helped add up to this crazy story of, one of the best two-wheeled, athletes ever.
yeah. It's nothing like you would go and look for to be a better downhiller. But it's nothing like out of the ordinary for me because it's all that I've known.
Yeah.
But it must happen in other sports and other things in life where people don't have the ultimate environment,
Yeah.
but they still find a way to thrive, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, they are rare though. Like super rare to find those people.
Yeah, like how you were saying before, how the French downhillers are all pretty dominant at the moment, and they're all sort of like, a lot of them are from one region.
Mm.
So it makes you wonder, like, does that region,
There's something in the water, as they
is that
say.
what makes those dudes so good? Or
Yeah. Well, that's like, you think about the WA is a weird place in general, man, for talent to come out of. Like Daniel Ricciardo, Taj Burrows,
Yeah.
Jack Robinson, Sam Hill, Regan Duffy, Jeff Leask. Like, what the fuck's going on over here?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people that come from this crazy small. It's not small, but I guess it's not small in size, but it feels small. Like there's a small scene. It's a small group of people that can just do gnarly shit. Like, so many good dudes have come from this part of the world. It's like, but it's a trip though, right?
yeah, we're so far away from everything. That I think it makes it a bit harder for us to get noticed and to go and do things around the world or on the other side of Australia. Like, just the cost to fly to the other side of Australia to pursue a career, or like to try and get yourself noticed, is like that much harder.
Did you ever have any thought of moving away from WA?
No.
That's exactly what I thought.
It's not happening.
Was it like, were there people trying to get you to move?
Nah, not at all.
You just wouldn't even entertain the conversation.
No, I don't think I've been anywhere. Not to be rude to anywhere else in the world, but I wouldn't. There's nowhere I'd want to live other than West Australia.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's probably similar for a lot of people. Like, you know, your heart's always going to be where you've grown up, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. He gets laid back. It's a comfort thing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, there's when you got everything here, and I mean, when you can do what you did too, like, who's gonna argue to be like, oh, you got to move, man? Probably not that many people that can really make that argument.
Yeah, there's definitely more ideal places I could have probably gone to, to train but then saying that somehow those elements that have created me as a rider are all here. So
yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's it.
So you talked before about visualization. How much would you visualize a race run before you did it?
Usually quite a lot. So even from when we do track walk and walk the track, I'd lay down in bed that night and I'd try and go over the track in my mind. And normally you'd know the track, and then you'd be able to get it to a place where you could probably set your stopwatch, close your eyes, do your race run in your head, stop your stopwatch, and you'd be within a second or two of your actual race time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you'd know rocks and roots on the track that, like, there's hundreds of rocks and roots on the track, and you'd know where they are.
That is insane, dude. How long did it take you to memorize a track like that? Wouldn't take that long, really. I've always been pretty good at remembering them pretty fast, I guess. Even from, like, say we go to a brand new track we've never been to, and we do track walk, I could probably remember 75% of the track as it is. Really?
And then, yeah, there'd sometimes be bits that you get stuck on, and you might forget, like, one section, and you go ahead. But then after the first day of practice, you'd be able to go home and you know the track.
Did you know other dudes that were like that?
There's definitely other riders that do it. I don't know how much of a common thing it is. I think it's got, I don't know, you're always chasing to be better and to be faster, and that's like a small percentage of something that can make you better, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to the point where those top riders would all have to be doing it now.
Yeah. Was it common, do you reckon, back then?
I don't think it was super common, no.
Yeah, so that was something that was, because that's just study, dude. It's
never really something I shared with other people that I did.
Really?
So whether or not others were doing the same thing or not, I don't know.
Man, I just, like, I wish I could go back and just be like a fly on the wall through some of those times of, like, because you're a guy that doesn't say a lot, but there's so much going on inside your mind, you know? Yeah. And I think that, I mean, dude, I was one of the people, I just fully thought, I was like, Sam Hill's just this fucking gifted person. Just gifted. You just get given this talent. There's the bike at the top of the hill. There's the bike at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
That dude just fucking does it so easy.
Yeah.
But that's sort of not the case. Like, there's obvious... And I guess it would have looked like that because you're not really saying much. You're not really carrying on. You're not... You know, you're just quiet, reserved, and then you go do your thing. So that's probably... I guess that's probably the reason why it looked like that
Yeah.
from the outside. But inside, there was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
That was just super focused on winning.
Yeah, and that's maybe what people sort of looked at me and didn't understand what I was about as well. Like maybe they had that perception and thought that I'm just a kid that's turned up with some crazy talent, and don't realise the sort of the work and the determination and how much I want it, like behind the scenes.
Because to concentrate for that long, like a race run, dude, to say that you reckon you'd be within a second of your race time, that's fucking gnarly. Because just high level concentration. And I'm sure it's not like you were doing that once a night. Like, that would have just been over and over and over and over. Like, to just not have other thoughts popping in your head and, like, random shit to distract you from that. Even that can't be understated. The fact that you... Because that almost is like a deep meditation.
Yeah.
To be able to stay in the zone and picture that track.
Yeah, well, it's it's something like I sort of taught myself. Like, you might get halfway down the track and, like you say, something else pops into your head. So then you'd stop and you'd go back to the start. You'd go again.
Really?
Yeah.
So you'd force yourself, you'd be like, fuck, all right, go back to the start.
Yeah, or if I was going down and I got lost on a bit or messed a bit up in my mind and go back.
And so, how are you seeing yourself? Are you seeing yourself on the bike, top down, riding? Or is it
goggle view and you're just on the track hitting the lines, trying to do it at the speed. Like, visualise at the speed you're going.
And so, could you make yourself go faster in your mind? Like, would you start, say, let's say, the first visualization run that you did was fucking shit, and you were like, I was slow here, I was slow there, I was slow there. Could you actually, get faster in a run through visualization, do you reckon?
I don't think so. You can definitely visualise it and process it slower. And you can process and visualise it faster, but I don't think that's going to make your riding
any better
faster by speeding it up in your mind.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say goggle view, because a friend of mine, he's one of the best jiu-jitsu dudes in the world, Levi Jones Leary, he came on the podcast a while ago, and he was talking about visualization a lot. He's just like, man, I would just visualize over and over and over and over. And I will visualize jiu-jitsu, but it's more of like third person. So it's like I'm watching myself roll with another person.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I'm watching a video of myself.
Yeah.
And it was funny, man. He shut me down instantly. It was like, no. It doesn't work like that. It's got to be first person.
Yeah.
So for me, like, for a jiu-jitsu reference would be like, I'd have to see my hand go out front, grab a collar grip. Then I'd have to see my other hand, you know?
Yeah.
But to me, I thought that the third person view, you know, like actually watching
makes sense to you.
That would be what would be better.
Yeah.
And then for you to say, no, it's goggle view.
Yeah.
Had you tried both? What made goggle view better?
Never even thought of anything other than what you actually see on the bike. Yeah,
because see, I would think, I thought it would make more sense to watch the bike go down, but after Levi said that, and then you've said this, there's got to be something to just that particular view.
Yeah.
Which is fucking bizarre that it can make a difference.
When I play a driving game on the Xbox or something, I cannot have that view.
Yeah.
I have to be able to see the car.
Yeah, right.
So that's, I don't know, but I suck on the Xbox. So.
yeah, suck on the Xbox. Don't suck at riding. So what was the first win like in Elite?
Can I go for a toilet break?
Fucking oath. Take your headphones off. You over it yet? Feel like I'm forcing you, mate. Just forcing it out of you. I find that shit so fucking interesting. Like that visualization stuff. Just find that insanely interesting, man. Because, like, I guess for so many people, they just want to do the thing at the track, and then once they're away from the track, it's just like, it's over for them. You know, they put the bike down, they'll worry about it. You know, I'll pick back up where I left off in the morning.
Yeah.
But for you, it just seems like the lights never switched off.
Nah, I don't, like, even sitting in the pits, like, I'd sit there looking at my bike and think, like, what can I do? Is there anything we can do to make my bike work better, be lighter? Like, constantly thinking of how to be faster on the bike.
Maybe that's why you were so quiet too. Because you were just thinking
Thinking
you're
so
just
much.
busy. It was just like, wait, I'm not talking, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I've got shit going on.
Nah, the quietness is just being shy, I think. But
I don't know.
yeah,
I reckon
definitely a lot going on in the mind.
yeah, that's what I think it is. I reckon you're not as shy as much as you're busy. you just got a lot on.
Just busy in my own head.
Yeah, but it was productive. It wasn't like you were fucking around.
No,
You were doing shit.
I was. Still do now.
Yeah. So, the first race win, like elite,
Yeah.
big boy race win. Where was it? How'd it feel?
It was at Schladming, Austria, 2005.
That track was pretty gnarly, eh?
That was the track I should have won 2004 that I was telling you about.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And yeah, it was gnarly. Beat the body up. Actually, in 2004, the old thighs were a bit sore, so I put some Tiger Balm on that night. Ran it a bit high up the thigh.
Oh no.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No.
That could have been
Was
what
that
messed
it?
me race day
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, there was no visualising that night.
Nah, a bit of burning. But I think going back there the following year, 2005, like I knew it was redemption.
Yeah.
And I think it started raining for the finals. I qualified first, so they send if you qualify first, you race last.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting like at the top, and it was just me and my mechanic, and we were both shitting ourselves. Like, it's not like a place we were used to being.
Yeah.
And it's a weird feeling being the only rider left up there, and just knowing that everyone else is at the bottom, waiting to see what you're going to do. So, and on top of that, it started raining for the finals as well. So, yeah, I remember, my mechanic JC was trying to keep my mind off being too stressed out. And once the clock counted down, I just sent her on, and I had you pedalled out the start, went off like this steep chute, and JC reckons he just seen me clicking gears and just disappear off the chute and heard this massive noise, and he didn't know what had happened. But I had like a wild but sick race run and ended up winning it by 8 seconds. So yeah, that was pretty special and unreal to. I think like there was a lot of build up for me because I felt like I should have won it the year before,
Mm.
and obviously I was chasing that first World Cup win, and I got second overall in the series in 2004. I think that year I was probably sitting second overall again.
Who won that year, Manar?
05,
No, 04 when you got
04.
second.
I think it was Petey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, 05, I won Schladming, and 2 weeks later we were racing in Mont Saint Anne, and I ended up breaking my elbow the weekend before. So I'd gone from like
Top of the world.
feeling pretty awesome. You know, that was halfway through the season at the time. So that was a bit of a bummer. But yeah, to win that first race, and I guess, to get the monkey off the back and just,
Yeah.
not that I didn't know that I could do it, but just to get it done
Yeah.
was pretty awesome. Yeah.
There's a difference between knowing and or thinking and knowing, right?
Yeah, I think as much as I knew I could do it, I had I had to do it to be able to move on from there,
Yeah.
and then
Did it feel different after you won the first one?
well, I don't know. They all feel awesome.
Yeah. No, but in terms of did you feel like it was just going to be something you could just do over and over?
Yeah, I think you definitely from then you go to the start line, sort of knowing and wanting that same thing.
Yeah.
Like you've already had it. Not that you didn't want it before, but you just want that first one gone, so then you can just start going about business.
Yeah, yeah. Righto, let's just click these things off.
Yeah.
Go home with the check and get back to WA.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so you were saying before that the World Champs is the one that you always wanted to win. What is it about World Champs that you like better than the World Cup Series?
Well, as much as I always wanted to win the World Cup Series, I always had the World Champs on a bit of a pedestal, I guess. It's in cycling we've got the World Cup Series and then the One Day World Championship, which essentially makes you the world champion, which is in my eyes that's the best thing you can be. Technically, the World Cup Series is a championship, but you can't call yourself the world champion. So, I don't know. It's always so much hype and buzz around the Worlds, and the fact that it is a race that comes around once a year. You're racing for your country. You're wearing the Australian jersey, so you've got that pride on your shoulders. And yeah, I don't know. That's just always been the main goal and the main race I've wanted to win each year.
Yeah, and it makes sense. There's definitely something to be said for being the consistent guy that can, be there every weekend and yada yada yada. But then there's also something to be said for the cunt that can grab his nuts and fucking throw down for one run, one day to take all the marbles. You're a badass dude if you can be that guy against a bunch of other dudes that are really good as well.
Yeah, well, I think you could see it so many years that guys who can win the series or can win a World Cup, they go to the Worlds and they choke. They just, whatever reason, the hype of the race, they can't handle the pressure. And that's kind of what makes it exciting. It's in a way a bit more adrenaline, like it is. It is that extra bit of feeling to come down and race the Worlds. And
so with all of that extra pressure, because you're so right, that's exactly what it is. There's so much pressure to do it one day, and that's like a motocross series coming down to the last race.
Yeah, well, you think of the Olympics.
Yeah.
Which is even worse. You got
4 years.
You mess it up and you're waiting another 4 years for another shot.
Maybe never.
Yeah.
You might just kind of age out of it.
Yeah.
What then, with all of that extra pressure and you knowing that there's all that extra pressure, what let you be able to overcome that so many times?
I think that's kind of the mental strength and sort of the visualizing it, I think, is what has sort of helped me be able to rise and step up to that event.
What did you do to, did you try and block any of it out, or did you feel, because I guess there's two ways you could go about it, right? You could try and block out the pressure completely and block out all of it's the world champs, you could just get rid of all that, and that would be the focus. So anytime a thought come in that was around that, you'd be like, no, not thinking, it's getting blocked out? Or is it the kind of thing where you feel all that pressure and you're not able to block any of it out, but then it makes you visualize more, train harder, do more runs? Is that the way that it was?
Yeah, definitely. I think the only time I try to block anything out is when you go to your actual race run, and normally we'd sit up there on like a turbo trainer for,
Yeah.
Might be 20 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever your warm up is that you want to do, and that's the time where everything starts running through your mind, like what if this, what if that, and that's what I've always tried to block out. Like, I try not to think about any of that stuff, and JC's always been like there with me, and he can tell if I'm like, he must just be able to look at me and know that I'm thinking or stressing over something, and he'll start talking about something completely pointless or
Yeah.
funny or whatever it is, because he knows it's going to get my mind off. And sometimes he'll say stuff and I'm like, what are you talking about?
But it works.
But I know he's just trying to
Yeah.
lighten the mood. But I think, yeah, there's no way to sort of block out all the pressure of the race and the event without sort of pushing away your focus of it. I think you need that to sharpen the focus, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, eh? It's like it's like running from a fight if you're trying to block out the pressure. It's almost like, it's funny. You know Josh Keisha?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, fucking love that guy. He'd give me one of the best sayings of all time: pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
And ever since I heard that from him, I've always tried to think about that.
Yeah.
Anytime I felt pressure, anytime I felt like anxiety around competition or anything like that, I just go, pressure makes diamonds, pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
Like, don't push it out, because this is what you need to then push you forward.
Yeah, definitely. The nerves can help you create the adrenaline that you need to perform. But it's those sort of nerves before you're about to get in the gate and do what you got to do that I've learnt to try and sort of push aside and not deal with, because I don't know, I just find it easier to sort of not at the last minute or the last 30 minutes or hour of before I'm going to do my actual final race run.
Because the work's done, right?
Yeah.
There's not that much else you can do.
You've been thinking about it for a week or a month or a year in some cases.
Yeah.
So yeah, that there's no point letting those last minute nerves stress you out.
Yeah. Have you had races where you've let nerves fully derail the program?
I don't. Well, I don't know. As the years went on, I definitely learnt how to handle those nerves a lot better. That 2008 World Champs, I was sitting on the turbo trainer warming up, and I had to get off and throw up because I was like that nervous. And then after I threw up, I was fine.
Really?
Rode sick until the last turn, so.
Yeah, true. What did it feel like? I mean, obviously it felt good to win. Yeah, I mean, so I guess I should say, like, the question's deeper than what did it feel like. Obviously it felt good, but there's so much that goes into racing, and there's so much that goes into, like, a career. And, I mean, how old were you when you had BAM?
I was like 26 or 27 or something.
Yeah, so I mean, you're like a young dude with a young family, and you're leaving them halfway, you're going halfway across the world, and, like, when you do finally cross the finish line and when you do win a race like that, it's like, obviously it's got to feel good, but there's so much sacrifice that goes into it from your end. And then so much sacrifice from Bridget, sacrifice from the kids. So, like, it must be a gnarly feeling to cross that finish line on a big race like that.
Yeah, it is. And I think, like, once before having kids in a family, I was always racing for myself.
Yeah.
Since having kids in a family, like, if I'm away and I'm struggling a bit because I'm homesick or whatever, I know that I've got to make the most of being over there and racing to make it worthwhile for me not being at home, if that makes sense.
Totally.
And yeah, I guess, you know, they're kids, they love their dad, so if I win, if I lose, if I do shitty and feeling crappy about myself anyway, like when I talk to them, they don't care what I got.
No, they want to tell you about what
So,
they're doing. And,
yeah. Talk about bums and poos, and so yeah, that's a pretty cool thing, sort of, to be able to, I don't know, it's a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
For me to go racing now, I guess. Like, I want to make them proud, and I want to win races not only for myself now, but for them.
Yeah. It was one of the things, obviously, before we started talking, it was one of the things that I looked at you and was really, I mean, I don't know what the word is for it, but it was real impressive, I guess, the way that you come across as like a dad and a family man. And I think too, like, I guess I've been around great people in the industry and, you know, real great athletes, dudes like yourself, family man, great father with kids. And then I've just been around dudes that are just fucking pieces of shit. So, like, and that, there seems like there's a lot of them in the industry at times as well, or in, like, different sports. And because I think, like, I mean, I guess everyone's different, but some guys just run on that confidence and, you know, like that big dick energy and out, you know, fucking a bunch of chicks and being the man and, like, you know, just super selfish. And it's just like, it's gives them momentum, and that's what they kind of run on. And I feel like with you, it always looked a little different, and I always respected that. And it always just really come across that you, almost like you could take all the racing and shit away like that, and you'd just be still so sweet.
Yeah.
Just purely based on, like, how into your family you are.
Yeah. I think so, a lot of athletes, and to be an athlete, I think you make so many sacrifices, and you have to actually be quite selfish.
Yeah.
To get, like, you need to put yourself first, and what you're doing first a lot, which I don't feel like I do that. Like, I'll put my kids and my family first most of the time. But yeah, I think a lot of people can take it too far, where the people around them trying to help them, they're not as important as what the athlete thinks they are. Which, when I see stuff like that, kind of bugs me. Like, if you're in a team environment and people are trying to help you out, and that's their job, you should respect those people, because they're doing their job to try and help you get what you want. But you see lots of people who kind of, like, treat those people like shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's so common, and I feel like the balance is, you've got to think you're the man when the helmet's on, and then you almost got to think like you're the janitor in the team when the helmet's off.
Yeah. Like, when we all go away, I'll do everyone's dishes after dinner. Like,
humility.
We're part of a team. Like, I'm not just there to race and to win. It's not all about me. We're a team. Like, we're a little family that travels around. Like, everyone's got to put in and do their thing. But I think there's a lot of athletes in every sport that wouldn't do that and don't think they need to. Like, they'll think they're the man. Everyone needs to look after them and wait on them and basically be their servant so that they can do what they need to do, but it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, and then people think, I feel like, or I've kind of seen, people feel like if they're not getting that insane special treatment, that they can't win there.
Yeah.
They're like, these guys just don't treat me good enough to win.
Yeah.
Like, that shit happens too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking, yeah, it is pretty crazy. But there is a balance though, like, because you do have to, there is legitimate sacrifices.
Yeah.
And there is, yeah, like just that real estate inside your head at a race or around a race or during a season. It's precious. Like you're using that time, all the time, not just when you're on the bike, to try and get better. So like there is a balance, but it seems like you've got a good way of stepping out of that and just going full dad mode.
Yeah, well, that goes back to, I think, me loving WA. Like I can go and do my job, I can go and do my training for the day, and I walk in the door, put my bike away, and I'm unpacking school bags and doing all the dad stuff. Like, I have no problem with that. That's my life. Like, I'll wake up with the kids, get them ready, take them to school, go do my job, pick them up from school. Then I'm a dad, put them to bed. Like, I have no problem sort of being both of those things.
Yeah, making that time. Yeah, because that's what I was saying to Sam when we were driving out to the track. I was like, dude, from 2:30 p.m, Sam Hill is in dad mode.
Yeah, I'm in dad mode most of the day, really. But that's kind of like, also, I love going training and doing my job because that's me time. And it's being out on my bike and up in the bush sort of on your own. It's a good place to sort of reset and clear your mind as well.
Yeah. So when you how many worlds did you get in downhill? Was it 5, 2 junior, 3 senior?
Yeah.
So what was the transition, or like why did you end up wanting to stop racing downhill and go into enduro?
There's a few reasons that I think sort of steered me into enduro. Most of our good downhill tracks were in like pine plantations.
Yeah.
And they all got logged at the same time, and we weren't allowed to go and rebuild tracks in there. So pretty much 3 of our best spots to go and do downhill and be able to use the shuttle roads and that sort of thing all disappeared. I was starting to do more stuff on the enduro bike as training for downhill, and then having kids, like Bam was a toddler, and if Bridget would go take me to do downhill runs, we might get like 3 runs in and he's crying or he's car sick and spewing or...
Oh, so you were doing like downhill training with Bam in a car seat and Bridget
driving me up and down. Like,
that's so sick.
It ended up being more of a hassle.
Yeah.
Than it was worth the
just ride the bike to the top yourself.
Yeah, worth the training. So I'd just, instead of doing that, I'd just go ride my trail bike up in the bush for a few hours. So I sort of got a bit more passion towards that. And then, since 2001, I was sort of racing nearly some of the tracks are the same tracks they race today.
Yeah.
So some of the excitement of going to new venues and new tracks wasn't there anymore. Whereas enduro, everything was it was new, it was fresh, and it was a new challenge for me. So I think I kind of just felt a bit stale with downhill and within myself. So that's kind of why I made the transition to enduro.
Because you could have easily just retired, and I'm sure you made enough money winning as much stuff that you did, and it's not like you're out here fucking balling out of control and WA, you know. So it's like, I'm sure with the career that you had in downhill, you could have just been like, cool, I'm done. And everyone would have been like, yeah, man, makes sense. Like, you came, you won everything. But, you know, you could have walked away, but then you kind of went into almost like a second career.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's been that long that I've sort of rode the first part of it where everything's new and you're always chasing to get better and chasing the goals of the race wins and stuff that you want. Then I went through a couple of years of not really wanting to ride my bike or wanting to be at the races. I just wanted to kind of be at home. And then
What do you reckon that was from?
I don't know. I sort of just lost a bit of drive to want to do it. I don't know what it really was. Just wasn't enjoying being away from home. And
Yeah. Did you struggle with homesickness?
no, not really.
No.
No.
You just could get through it.
Yeah, I think because it was always, I don't know, just.
How long would you have to spend away from home at any one time?
Well, when I first started, I was basically going for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home. And it was always weird. Like, I'd think things would be different. Like,
Yeah.
I'd expect there to be, like, new roads and
Yeah.
and
Skyscrapers.
yeah, like, I don't know, just things to have evolved in the last 6 months.
Nothing
And you'd
changes.
come home and you'd be like, yeah, it's the same old thing.
You
Haven't missed anything.
literally the same fucking coffee cup would be
Yeah.
on the coffee table when you left.
Yeah. But yeah, recently, since having a family, I try and go do the races and then come home. So I spend a lot more time at home now.
And what were you thinking enduro was going to be like before you started racing it?
Well, I did like a few local ones around here as sort of training in the off season leading into the races, and they were just super fun events to go to. And then we went to Crankworks New Zealand.
Yeah.
Must have been 2013, something like that. And I thought, yeah, we'll go on there to do the downhill. I thought, let's just do the enduro anyway, see what it's about. And that was an EWS.
Oh, yeah, yeah. EWS round, right?
Yeah, it was their first one, I think.
Mm.
And yeah, I loved it. And then, yeah, then I think the year after that, part of our sponsorship with Mavic came on board as like a
Oh, yeah.
as like a title sponsor, but they wanted us to do a certain number of EWS events as well.
Yep.
So the team committed to doing that. And yeah, I sort of didn't, after New Zealand, I knew that I liked it, but I didn't think too much about it. And then, so we did the 4 events or whatever, that next year, I think it was, or maybe it was 16 we done that. And I was sort of waiting to get to a venue that made me not like it.
Yeah.
But every
Didn't
time
come.
I was like, this is sick. So then we go to another race and I'd be like, yeah, like there's going to be somewhere where I don't enjoy this. But it never sort of happened. So I don't know. I sort of felt like it was the same. It's the same thing as racing downhill, but it was different, and you have to approach it differently.
Yeah.
And it sort of goes back to me thinking in my mind of how to get better at it.
Yeah.
So that challenge was like exciting for me,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know, it sort of brought like a new lease of life to it to make me want to go race that.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that the enduro stuff's probably not something you can lay in bed and memorize the track. Like, it's just raw. You've just got to feel it and just sort of like send it through these sections. Was that something that was cool, that it almost like forced you to just completely change the game plan?
Yeah, I think it kind of suits the way I ride and look for lines and try to adapt on the fly of what's coming up. So I think even though I don't know the tracks, like I can't memorise them, I remember parts of them from the one practice run you get and trying to study it on your GoPro. But you're also riding like on the edge and improvising when you have to.
Yeah. So I wanted to actually go back before I forget, because I've forgot this twice. How much in the downhill stuff, we were talking before where you're like, I think there's some guys that they're just not down to send it the way that it needs to be done. Like, how hard are you sending it in a World Champs final downhill run?
You like you're all in. You're putting all your chips on the table and you're going for it.
And so you think there's guys that, for whatever reason, aren't comfortable to do that, even though they're brilliant riders?
I think there's majority of riders will put in a run that's at their limit of being comfortable.
Yeah.
Whereas I was always okay with going over the line of comfort.
How far?
Whatever it took to win. We'd go to racetracks and there'd be places where I knew, like I told you, I knew I could win. There'd be places I knew I couldn't win, but I'd still try and figure out ways or lines on the track or take risks to try and be there.
That shit is so sick. To do, like, that level of commitment, to do that on a run, like you said, you know, all the chips are on the table, to just be able to go out there and fucking send it way past the line. Like, that stuff just fascinates me.
But
to no end, dude.
I think, like, you have to, like, if you want to win something that bad,
It is what it is.
you're not, like, you've got to go past your comfort level sometimes.
So do you think then that people don't want it as bad as what you did?
I just don't think they're willing to go as far. I'm not. There's definitely people that you can see that aren't pushing it past their comfort zone. They're just putting in the best run that they can at 100% and hoping it's enough. But I'd ride 105 or 110% if I had to.
And what did it feel like when you were doing that? Because like, I mean, there was times today where I'm like, fuck, I know I've got this section pretty good, and I'm gonna have a crack at this one. And I'm like, whoa, no, back it down, big dog, back it down. But there's, like, are you getting that same feeling where you're just like, fuck, back it down? But then there's another party that's like, nah, man, just keep going. Like, I don't have what you've got to go way past the comfort zone. So how do you get okay being there?
Well, I don't think it's like, it's not like I'm just totally winging it. Ready.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not on the edge of crashing every moment of the run. It's like, you know how fast you can go, and then you just ride above that a tiny bit.
Just to give it a little bit more.
Because, and it's not like, you know, if you go to a 30-minute moto,
Yeah.
you put in the best laps you can. But if you had that one lap sprint, you're going to rise above your speed a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what it's like. But then I think there's so many riders that just ride to what they can.
Yeah.
And obviously I've had a lot of good wins because I've ridden the way I have. And I've had, like, there's a lot of big races I've lost because I've crashed riding that way. But I don't regret any of them because without that I wouldn't have got the wins that I had got.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would never be happy with myself if I never rode that way and tried.
Do you have any races that you regret, that you think you left shit on the table?
No, I don't think so. There's slight regrets that I didn't do things, or basically some of those runs where I didn't just be like, let's tone it down a tiny bit here.
Let's walk into the finish here, boys.
I don't even regret it. It's like I was there to go for the win, and it didn't work out. But I just, in my mind, I wish that it could have worked out.
Yeah.
But I'm totally okay with
Yeah.
how things have gone in my career, because I know that the way I've ridden and the races I've lost have let me win the races that I have won.
Yeah. Man, that's such a sick perspective to take. To just be okay with the crashes and the losses. Because there is some famous crashes where, 3 corners from the finish, up by 1 trillion seconds, and everyone's just like, fuck, like, you didn't have to do that. What are you doing? But you're right, man. It's like, oh, so what? I back it down on this run?
Yeah.
And then the next run? And then the next run? And then when am I actually riding fast?
Yeah.
Like, when am I when am I allowed to do this thing?
Yeah, I think, like, a lot of people have been like, you're up by so much. If someone had a pit board or
Yeah.
had told you, you could have just, like, cruised it in. But if someone had told me what I was doing, like, I don't look at it that I was riding out of control or anything. Like, the mistakes happened and they were just racing mistakes. Like, I wouldn't have ridden any different if someone told me I was up by 5 seconds, or
Yeah.
there wouldn't be a race where someone could say you're down by 5 seconds. I wouldn't ride differently
It's not
to
like
what I would anyway. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm already giving it everything I got.
Yeah, it's not like, oh fuck, okay, I'll go fast.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give it everything I got from the start line to the finish line.
Yeah.
It's never going to change.
Man, it's so cool because I feel like, man, there's probably riders that don't have that, where they beat themselves up over the crashes or because I mean, Loic's crashed out of a couple world champs. He's won a couple. He's crashed out of a couple, and it's like, yeah, maybe it is the guys that are okay with losing a race because you know that you've got to do more than your best to win.
Yeah, I think Loic's definitely one of those guys that will step it up when he needs to in a race.
Yeah, that dude, there's some shit that you see him doing race runs where you're like, he can't have planned that. That was just wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I think that's what makes downhill such a, I guess, a gnarly sport. Like, you just get that one go at it, man.
Yeah, you got one chance and you can't redo it.
So, and then what is it the same send level in enduro?
It's a bit different because you're still pushing that hard. But then you might be coming towards the end of the day and you might have a lead.
Yeah.
So you've got a stage to go or 2 stages to go, and then you can back it down because you can still maintain the lead and win the event.
Yeah, without.
So it's different. Like, there's enduro races and you can know kind of what place you're going to get before you even finish the race.
Yeah.
Like, if you're having a really good day, you might know you're going to win it and you've still got to do another stage.
Yeah.
Or you might be in 7th and you're not going to catch the dude in front. The guy behind's not going to catch you.
Yeah.
So I guess the excitement of that is different to downhill.
Yeah.
Where
It's more strategy.
where you're either sitting, like you might race early and you're in the hot seat and you're sitting there and the anticipation's growing. The riders are coming down, no one's beating you. And then once the last rider's crossed the line, you know what's happened. Whereas you don't get that same excitement level from enduro.
Yeah, it's just like a totally different... But it kind of would have it in different ways.
But then it's also kind of nice to not have that stress of wondering as well. Like sometimes the outcome's already on the wall pretty much. You just need to finish it off.
Does like I can see, I guess, the enduro thing almost gave you like a completely new lease on racing, and it's almost like a second career.
Yeah.
And do you think, like, as you know, you get older and the sport sort of changes, do you think that like e-bike enduros, where the fitness side of it and the training side of it doesn't come into it as much, and it's more just like a skills race, kind of like you sort of take the fitness out of it and it's like skill over a really long time? Because it's like you look at guys like, you know, Fabian Burrell, Nicholas Voulios, they retire from downhill and that's it. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
But you got to essentially like retire from downhill and then go into this enduro scene, and then it's like, you know, you've still got years left of doing that. And then from there, it's like maybe the e-bike thing takes off, and it's like you can be a part of the first generation where, you know, like mountain bike, it doesn't have to slow down, you know?
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting the next few years of where e-bike racing goes. I know that the EWS series tried to introduce it last year, but because of COVID, sort of didn't give much of an indication of where it's going and where it can go, I think. So I think this year and next year will be pretty interesting to see how it all plays out. But yeah, like you said, with the more technical side and take some of the physicality out with the e-bike, I'm not sure that's the direction that it's going from what I've seen.
What do you mean?
I think they're using the e-bike to cover more stages.
Make it like marathon style.
A bit more, yeah. And from some of the things I've seen last year, they had like technical uphill climbs as a stage. Annoying. But for me, like enduro is still a gravity sport. Like we should be racing down, whether they're on an e-bike or not.
Yeah, because I picture that whole e-bike thing, and I'm not super entrenched in mountain bikes. You know, I'm pretty much just a casual fan at best.
Yeah.
For me, dude, I'm like, fuck, give me Sam Hill, give me Kavara, give me all these dudes that are still fucking rip, but they've been racing for 20 plus years. They don't want to train.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck that Sam Hill's fit. I just want to see him rip.
Yeah.
You know, like that, to me, that's where e-bike comes in. Like, I don't need to see a marathon stage of a... Like, I don't care how far you can pedal an e-bike.
Yeah.
I want to see dudes like you that have already given a full career to the sport. It's like, let's let these dudes not train now.
Yeah.
Let's let them get to the top of the hill and then ride real fast down. And, dude, e-bikes handle so sick.
Yeah.
I've found anyway. I don't know what it's like for someone that rides as fast as you do, but man, I feel like turning e-bikes is a way better experience than just like a normal enduro bike. I feel like the level of riding that you could do and the speed that you can generate in between turns and stuff like that, like e-bikes could be the thing that just lets you guys really rip.
Yeah, I think the technology of them's new. Like, obviously, mountain biking has come a long come so far with its technology. e-bikes are only going to get better. Like the battery's going to get better. They're going to get smaller.
Lighter.
They're going to get lighter. They're going to last longer. They're going to put out better power. Like I can see it getting pretty exciting for the future. But who knows what it means for like enduro racing or anything like that. Maybe, I don't know, instead of us being out for 6 hours of the day, we do the same stuff in 3 hours or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like what would let's say someone comes to you and says like, hey, we want to do like a e-bike EWS. What would it look like for you? What would be like the most fun thing that would keep you racing longer?
I think probably trying to keep the actual race stages going down a hill. but technical.
Yeah.
Just steep technical and I don't know, maybe you can get to more remote locations.
Yeah.
Or like the stages can be further apart because you've got the e-bike to pedal assist to get you to places quicker, whereas with a normal bike it might take too long to get from one mountain to the next or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you agree that they handle real good? Like in terms of like, fuck, I sound like the dumbest cunt then. Like, do you think that they handle better than a normal enduro bike because of the weight? They're a bit heavier. The weight's like real low.
Yeah, I think they've got some good characteristics to them. Like, obviously the weight when you come out of a corner and you let off the brakes, coming out they pick up speed. A lot more than a normal bike, as long as it's sort of going down. And yeah, just I guess rolling through things like the weight and the momentum sort of carries you through pretty good as well. But then there's I don't know, there's bits of a normal bike that sort of have better characteristics too, I think.
Yeah. I suppose that makes sense.
But I think as the batteries and stuff become better and lighter, and they can sort of bring them down a few kilos where they are closer to a regular bike's weight, then that's when they're really going to shine.
Yeah. Did you think that when you started the enduro stuff that you were going to be able to be as dominant as more dominant maybe, like to win 3 world championships in a row?
I don't. Obviously, the goal was to try and be an enduro world champion. I didn't really fully think it was going to happen the first year of doing it full time. I've never been like a super powerful pedally person, and that there's so much pedaling in enduro, so I think a lot of people didn't think I could do it as well. So it's
was that part of the motivation a bit?
I don't know. I do like proving people wrong, but I think I did definitely believe I could do it myself. But yeah, I just didn't think it would maybe happen that first year.
And then to do it again, and then again, and then COVID happened right after. So you're the current champ. So it's like you could go back and, essentially win another one. What do you think it is that lent itself so well to, or I guess what let you be so good at that? In, like you said, you've never been known as a pedaler. Like, you wear flat pedals. That's, people probably wouldn't see those as winning ingredients for enduro.
I think the way I ride, I'm quite good at conserving energy on the bike. So I think although I'm not the most powerful guy at pedaling and put out the most power, I think the power that I do have, I can maintain.
Yeah, you can keep that rolling longer down the hill.
Yeah, and then as well as that, my line choice and the way I ride the bike is sort of using minimal energy, which lets me stay fast for the whole day, rather than sort of being fast in the early stages and then fatiguing later on.
How did you develop that style? Like, was that something that you worked on specifically? You're like, okay, I want to be able to ride like this, or was that just how your riding kind of played out?
I think it's just kind of how it played out, but from an early sort of start into the sport, I always wanted to be smooth and sort of not smash my wheels and like.
So this came out of poverty.
Yeah, this came out of me not wanting to save money to buy new bike parts.
Oh, that's so good. So pretty much can't do this podcast without talking about flat pedals. Why flat pedals?
Um,
When did you just say, I'm going to ride flats till I die?
so I actually did want clips when I was younger, but buying my own mountain bike and parts for it and trying to make it better, I just couldn't afford pedals and shoes, I guess. So I was just a flat pedal guy, and then yeah, guys like Kavarik and Rennie, I looked at them and they were doing bloody awesome. And then yeah, that's kind of, I guess, where a bit of the foot out flat out style came from, was looking up to those guys and going overseas. I didn't see a need for it. Like, I think I still look at it now that both pedals are just as fast as each other.
Yeah.
Over the course of a track, that where one's faster, the other one's faster somewhere else. So, yeah, I don't look at it as a disadvantage at all.
Where, like, I guess it was funny. My old boy, I was trying to get clips for same deal though. Dad was like, I'm not fucking spending that much money on shoes and pedals. He's like, my dad always said, why would I spend $400 to essentially strap you to your bike that is going to cartwheel down a hill? He's like, I just don't know that sounds like the safest thing. I feel like he's probably right. Probably is the move to be able to have a little bit of independence from your bike going that speed down a hill.
Yeah, I think especially like a lot of the young kids now, they get into mountain biking, they get a dual suspension, they get clips at an early age, but they're not getting the skills that flat pedals and a hardtail or a rigid bike teaches you. Like, you have to learn to be smooth down a track if you've got no suspension.
Yeah.
And you have to learn to keep the bike underneath you with flat pedals when you're jumping.
Yeah.
The kids that are like, there's loads of kids now, if they ride a flat pedal bike and try to do a jump, they can't do it.
Yeah.
So I definitely think for the younger dudes, if I was getting my kids into it, I'd want them on flats and something to teach them the skills early on before they sort of progress to a bigger bike and be able to take it and push it further.
Yeah, and I think too, like what you were saying before about like the pea gravel and stuff here, like clips were probably shit here because there was probably a lot of times where you were spent both wheels sliding.
Yeah, I lost enough skin as a child without being stuck to my bike.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, what, like, I guess you don't do a lot of these. What are some things, I guess we spoke about it before, people maybe get the wrong impression with you being quiet and they mistake it for other things. What, like, is there other things that through your career with being quiet, not doing a lot of interviews, not doing a lot of media, are there other things that people have gotten wrong about you, or things that you never really got a chance to say that you would like to?
I don't know.
Putting you on the spot a bit. But.
Yeah, I'm not like the type of person that worries about what other people really think of me in general. So, I don't know. I'm happy with myself and doing me. And if that comes across wrong, then I don't know.
I love that. It's fucking solid though, because a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people do trip on, what people think and what people say about them. So it's pretty, sick to have that, in yourself, to just not really give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the people, I think people that know me know who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't need to try to be something different to make people who don't know me think something of me.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense to me. So if people want to judge something before they know what it is, and that's on them.
Yeah. No. Hey. Amen. Well, I really appreciate this. I was super stoked to get to do it. I was so stoked to ride with you today as well. Like, it's just weird, man. Like, there's times where, I don't know, like I've just done so much cool shit, and you do things and you're around all these different people. Never in my life thought I'd get to ride a dirt bike with Sam Hill, even with all the dope shit that I've done. Like, I've been to fucking Stuart's house, I've been to Carmichael's house. There's a lot of cool shit that I've done, and along that way you think that you'll do other cool shit.
Yeah.
Riding with you on a dirt bike was not one of those things I thought that would happen, so I was pretty stoked that we got to do it.
I was pumped on it too, bud.
No, it was a trip to just do all that driving and then to rock up here, have some Subway, and then just go and get fucking shown the way around a proper soundtrack by the boys. So, man, I appreciate it. You are a full-blown legend in every sense of the word. I know you're a super humble dude. I know you don't see yourself any differently, but you've achieved incredible shit from a place where you probably shouldn't have, really.
Yeah.
And through all of it, not wanted any of the fame, not wanted any of the carry-on that comes with it. You don't want people to, think of you any differently. But, man, super special career and what you've done. And then I think to be the family man that you are as well, to never leave, your home in WA. There's just a lot of really cool shit about you, and I think that, I know you don't give a fuck what people think, but I hope people listen to this, get a little bit more insight into who you are, the way that you think, and I know that people appreciate you, but I hope that this does something to even help people appreciate you a little bit more.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks for having me on here.
No dramas, mate. Anytime. Sam Hill, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to sleep. Fuck. Tired.
Good luck at Manji.
Oh, fuck.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.